Eric, thank you so much for your time. Welcome. Let's start from the very beginning. Can you tell us a bit about when and under which circumstances you discovered chess and whether it was love at first sight?
I learned in school when I was around grade 2 in elementary school, and there was a chess club at the private school I went to, and I was kind of forced to go. Some of my friends were there, but I was kind of a bad kid, kind of hyper, and they thought it would calm me down. So it was a after-school chess club, and I learned chess there. I didn't know this at the time, but the teacher was actually like the top-rated player in my province. He was a FIDE master from Serbia. So, you know, nobody in my family knows how to play chess, but I did learn how to coach in the chess club, but I wasn't good. I was just there for discipline, and they thought it would help me take time and think longer. So it wasn't love at first sight. I also wasn't good at first sight, but when I look back on it, I was pretty lucky that my school even had a chess club. And they also invested in the chess club by bringing in a pretty strong coach.
What was the state of chess in Canada back then?
Well, I mean, back then I almost didn't even know, because even in my city, I didn't really know. Like, it took me a while before I actually started traveling to tournaments. You know, for a long time, all I knew about chess was playing in my school chess club. And then once you start playing online, then you realize there's a big world out there. But for a long time, I didn't really know there was much happening. It was actually more popular back then than it is now, at least in the city where I'm from, for kids, or it was for a while.
What was the city?
Calgary. It was quite popular because we had these team tournaments between different schools, and that was like fun. You play with your friends. It was a social event for me, and competitive, and you had rivalries with other schools. Then for a long time, it kind of died down, and I think it's come back again, and it's quite strong for the kids. But because in Canada we don't have consistent support, chess isn't recognized as a sport. And even if it was, it just doesn't have a lot of organizers and volunteers, which is important. So what it means is that the popularity fluctuates, because you need people to run events, you need people to help get kids involved, and so some years, sometimes it gets really popular, relatively speaking, and then when those people are out of chess, we lose. We don't have funding or consistent support, which means it's tough.
Now back to your own career, fast forward from when you started, how long did it take until you got your first FIDE titles?
I was 16. I was 16 when I got FM, so very late by, I would say, modern standards for like professional GMs, but you know, the year before I was 2100. So I gained about 300 points in a year when I was 15 to 16. And then after that, it took about 2 years per title. You know, 16, 18, 20.
So 20, the GM title.
GM at 20, yeah.
What do you think caused that big leap you're talking about between 15 and 16?
Started studying for once. That was one thing. I also went to Vietnam for my first World Youth Chess Championships, and just being able to travel to the World Championships for chess for your age. You see others, you see better players than you, it just was very motivating as an experience. It made me want to, because even before I was FM, I was the best player in my region, in my province. At the time, that was the youngest ever. So one of the hard things I think in Canada is people don't know they don't necessarily set their goals too high, because they don't see GMs or IMs or even FMs for thousands of kilometers in some areas. They don't even know like what to aspire for if you don't really ever see that in person or get to talk about it. So that was an eye-opening event and gave me a lot of motivation moving forward.
What was the point, I imagine it was somewhere during that period that you start considering making chess your career?
I still didn't think I could for a long time, because I didn't even know what professional chess was. Is like, because you don't get paid in Canada, and you pay your own way to tournaments, and so even if you compare it to other regions in the world where there's professional players like Asia or Europe, I mean, in Europe, you can start earning money when you're a teenager or 14, let's say, if you're a Grandmaster in the Bundesliga, for example, here in Germany, you can just get paid to play, and that's just a foreign concept in Canada. So I had goals to become a really good player, but I definitely never had goals to play professionally because, as far as I understood, you couldn't play. How could you play professionally? There's no prize money, that's always been a struggle for me, and chess. Always been a struggle.
A final question about your early days in Canada. Did you have like a nemesis? You mentioned, you're sort of the only player in your region, but in the country, was there someone that you would be pitted against?
I mean, I had a few rivals. It took me a while to get good, and that means even in my city, there was players that were beating me pretty regularly up until I was probably 15 or 16. I'm in a pretty strong age group in Canada. It's one of the strongest probably ever in Canada, just because with myself, and then Amon Hambleton, who's Grandmaster, my age, that's how we met.
We'll talk about later.
Exactly. Shiem, Thavandern, he's an international master, and he was like consistently, top 10, top 20 at some of the World Youth Championships. So I was not winning the best in Canada until, 15, 16, or later on. Not when I was 12, 13, 14. I was never the best. So it took a while. We definitely had some rivals and a lot of really good players.
Around that time, did you have a chess player that you looked up to? Did you have any role models?
No, I didn't. I would say that it was about when I was like 15 where I said I started studying more. That's when I decided to try to find influences. Can I model my game after them and whatnot? So growing up, I didn't really. I just wasn't a huge chess fan, you could say. I loved playing, but I never read books, didn't really have lessons, didn't study. But then when I got into high school and I started studying a bit more, I remember looking a lot at the games of Michael Adams. That's who I always reference. So I'd say in terms of modern players, he was competing, in the elite events at the time. I'd say Mickey.
That's an interesting answer. Yeah. Let's move on to your streaming days. We already talked about Aman. It's been more than 10 years now since you started Chessbrah. You were one of the biggest pioneers when it comes to chess streaming. What got you to start?
I get this question asked a lot, and it's like sometimes nice to say, oh, I had a big plan, but really we were just bored in university and wanted to stream ourselves playing chess to our friends so that they could watch. But we like chatting and socializing, so sometimes it'd be through Skype and the microphones would be on, and so it was kind of a way to just keep up with friends in different cities. We'd play chess at night and set these different goals, try to hit this rating, I'll watch you, or, we're getting addicted to bullet chess and blitz chess was pretty standard. So it was a social thing when I first started it. And that was when I was in university and in IM. But I took it more seriously, and what you see today is more like around 2014, 2015, is like, you know what, I'm gonna do this more regularly, I'm gonna have a plan, I'm gonna buy a proper computer, gonna actually do this regularly, gonna involve my friends, and see where this goes. Still gonna do it for fun, but that's when I made a push, was starting in about 2014. I was like, you know what, I'm sure this is where the internet is headed, that people are gonna be streaming their games, watching their games, it's so much more accessible. That's approximately when I was like, yeah, this is a good model, let's see where this goes.
These days, the two big faces of Chessbrah, yourself and Aman Hambleton, of course. When you started in 2011, was it you on your own, or was Aman already a part of that? And how did you guys meet? When did this collaboration?
In university, we all just had our own accounts, and it was even before Twitch. So I just had the username, the Chessbrah account, but it was like very casual. But we met growing up playing in youth tournaments in Canada. So known Aman for a long time, and we both dropped out of university at the same time and moved to Europe to play chess. Yeah, 2013 is when we moved to Europe. So just known him for a long time. We grew up friends and rivals, and the timing worked out for a lot of these projects, and Chessbrah was one of them. When I started pushing it more.
When do you feel the project Chessbrah really started picking up speed, and how do you see the evolution to where you guys are today?
I think it just started picking up speed to me right away, let's say 2015, because when you start with 0 viewers, every sort of gain feels really good. Like you get to 10 people, 20 people, 30 people. It's a small number, but it's still very motivating. And you're starting from the absolute bottom with no expectations, So it was already like pretty motivating from the beginning. And a lot of those people that were watching from the very beginning are still involved in our community, which is also, you know, makes you appreciate what you do, because that's coming in on 10 years, which is a scary thought. Things have grown a lot, the industry's evolved, it's diversified, and you have to just try to keep up with it. And it's probably at its most exciting time ever now. The level's probably the highest in terms of education, in terms of entertainment, because there's so many people in the space, so many more viewers, so many more content creators, and that just creates a better product in the end. Like the standard is going up every year, but the viewership is going up, the support's going up. So it's just keeping up with the times and trying to find new ways to keep chess in the forefront, but it's like a very exciting time right now. It's like always busy. There's always something to do, always something to try. And unlike before, there was always viewership now, or potential viewership, because we know chess is at a much better spot than it was 5-10 years ago.
What do you think caused, you know, this increase of viewership and interest in chess and in the whole streaming aspect of things?
Probably just different aspects. Twitch getting bigger, Queen's Gambit, COVID, all those things, you know, contribute to it. Also, just technology improving. So, chess sites have improved. Their functionality and accessibility are easier now too. Being able to play on your phone, modernizing from like, you know, program-based chess from the late 90s, early 2000s to now, you know, web-based. But then after web-based, now it's all of its apps. Mobile apps is probably a huge thing for both viewership and for playing. Most people I know that play chess casually or that got into it in the last few years, they play on their phone. And they do things like puzzles. And like, they didn't have all these puzzle sites when I was growing up playing chess and stuff like that. This is all new. So there's been new product development, accessibility. The user experience is just has greatly improved, and the exposure is also improved a lot because there's way more content out there to consume. So it's like every aspect has improved, and there's still a lot of work to go, but compared to before, chess has modernized a lot. I mean, we've always been, I think, a slower game to modernize, in my opinion, but the results aren't a fluke. I mean, at least we're on the right track now.
For sure. The next question is a question we asked Hikaru quite a bit last year. What about yourself? Do you consider yourself these days more of a chess player or a streamer / content creator?
I have to say, generally content creator. For me, it's even, if I was to add another label, it's like really just a business owner. I don't create as much content as I did a few years ago, and I didn't play tournaments for 3 years, in person at least, which was the longest break ever. I mean, it was mainly due to COVID, but I've been playing less in person. So most of my time is actually spent planning content, working with our team, working with advertisers, and it's a lot of all the little things that business owners have to deal with, all the tedious things, and that's actually what I spend the most of my time on. So if there's a breakdown, I'd like to play first and foremost, because I still think I can get a lot better, but in my head I'm not fully dedicated, so I don't really consider myself a full-time professional chess player, because I do think you generally should be full-time if you're trying to achieve your potential. You can't be thinking about other things when you're playing tournaments, like payroll and overhead and revenue and things like that. You want to just be selfish and focused on your ability to play the best that you can and minimize all those other distractions. I'm not at that, I don't have that situation right now. So I definitely say I'm more of a content creator and just running the channel than as a player.
There are a couple of names and faces that a lot of people associate with Chessbrah, like Robin van Kempen, like Jesse Seiravan. Will we be seeing more of them in the future? There may be other people that you would like to get on board, and in general, what is your vision for Chessbrah for the future?
Yasser visited us this year, so that's his third time to Canada to visit us in different cities each time. So, I mean, he's a really good friend and has been supporting us since I met him, since the beginning. And I met him in November 2015. So pretty much the time we met, when the channel was still quite a bit smaller, he's always been there to push it and help. So really grateful for that. Just a very positive influence for me. He used to play and also run his own business, so that's also been quite relatable when he had his chess magazine. So that's also just very invaluable to have someone like that around. And then Robin, he's busy right now, but when we see him, we get him on stream. He was on the channel a few times last year. He just moved to New York. He was in Canada, so we'll have to catch him in New York. But we like to make it like a bit of a family thing and at least find time once a year to get everyone together. And last year that was the Chessboxing event that we got everyone to go. But yeah, for sure. I mean, behind the scenes, everyone's friends, and it's a way for us to socialize. So it's an excuse to socialize, and we're going to take it.
Fantastic. You mentioned the Chessboxing event that was huge, organized by Ludwig, live streamed on YouTube, where a man took on Lawrence Trent in a now infamous match, I would say. Tell us a little bit about what it was like on site.
I was super nervous because I wasn't involved in the training. I was involved in organizing everything, but the boxing, I was leaving that to Aman and to his trainer. I love watching boxing, love watching fights, but when it's somebody you know, and this is the first time, like somebody you really know, the nerves are really strong. I mean, I've never been so nervous in my life.
Really?
Yeah, and that was for months heading into the event. And I was concerned, I think for a good reason. We started pretty late. Aman definitely had less training, started later, pretty busy with the channel and other things. And I really thought we had to play catch up, both training-wise, and he had to gain weight. So I was extremely nervous. I told all the friends, and they said the same thing, like, we don't know what's gonna happen, which is fair, and that like there's a very decent chance Aman gets knocked out. If it's something, like you have to play, it's like being a chess player, you look through all the possibilities. There's a bunch of possibilities, at least in my head, that Aman gets knocked out or hurt, which is part of the game. But I also suggested the fight, as I said, I helped organize it. Like I did put those two names together and propose that fight. So I felt there's even more, like I said, like if something bad happens, it's kind of on me, because it wasn't like Aman's being like, oh, I really want to get into chess boxing, put me out there, and he starts trash talking. No, it was just an idea, proposed, he thought about it, he was interested and he did it, but it's not like Aman's like really wants to fight and punch people, or it wasn't like his first reaction. So yeah, it was nerve-wracking, but looking back on it, especially now, it's gonna be a memory I'm gonna have for the rest of my life. And we had 50, 60 viewers and friends come by to Los Angeles to watch it, and I think we all had a really good time, and it's just gonna be a memory for a lifetime. Even if that's the only time he boxes, it was amazing. The adrenaline was great, and yeah, I'm really glad he won, but it was definitely a nerve-wracking couple of months. Internally, I didn't want to like be worried in the house publicly. I didn't want to like interrupt training. I didn't want to, because I've never been in a boxing fight either, so I might have my own thoughts, but I want to leave it to the experts. But I definitely was in my head panicking a little bit. But yeah, I have to give props to both Aman and his trainer Brandon, and they did a fantastic job.
You mentioned you never did a boxing match yourself. Would you consider stepping into the ring in the future?
Absolutely, absolutely. Just depends on the circumstances. If it makes sense, it makes sense. But I generally like the idea of boxing, and would be happy to.
Well, that was really interesting. Eric, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. We certainly hope to see you in the ring maybe sometime in the future, but for now we're very happy to have you here in Berlin with us.
Thanks, Fiona.